in Kusadasi on day one, and we decided to take the Prienne.
It was our excursion was almost none of the places that the naturalist there, like the expert, talked to us about the night before, because we chose to go to Prienne, Miletus, and then to what was the last one?
Miletus and where are we? Didyma.
Oh, Didyma. Yeah.
Didyma.
So.
And it was amazing.
I think it was 3 people on the little chart. If you're not familiar with the little chart, 3 people is a pretty strenuous. You have some climbing, a lot of walking, possibly some uneven pavements and things like that. So yeah, this was right out the gate. It was every bit of that, but it was well worth it.
So we got off the ship. We got onto our bus. We met. Say his name again. I'm sorry.
It's Vulcan.
Vulcan.
Like volcano.
Yep. And he immediately went into the history of Turkey, and he says, "Now you're gonna have to walk up a lot of steps."
Yeah, he actually walked up and down the bus looking at your shoes, wondering if you wore the right footwear, because he knew this was going to be rugged.
We walked up the hill. I was tapped out.
7 steps.
Yeah.
I think she took 7 steps, and she said, "I can't do this." She made the next 7 to the crest, and that was it.
It was a very steep hill.
It was.
And me and another passenger, a little lady, we both. She says, "Come have a sit on this rock, let them go." But what we didn't see that he did was these steps that kind of went up like this.
It was a steep climb. It was uneven. There were loose rocks. There was an edge. Yeah, it was. I was determined. I was getting up there, no matter what. But yeah, it was. I was not dressed appropriately. I had jeans and it was hot.
But it was amazing what you got up there, wasn't it?
Oh my, definitely. It's like as I was going up, I'm looking at some of the ancient walls, the architecture. I took some shots of it just because of the engineering, the way they built these thousands of years ago. It was spectacular. You got up to the break. Finally, it's like, gotta stop. We're gonna go left or right. Oh, guess what? It went uphill a little bit more. Although it wasn't quite as rough, it was still uphill some more. Oh, my goodness. But stuff over there downhill looks really good. It did, but heavens, yeah, he took us to the right place. We went up there into the theater. This was it was a theater, not an amphitheater. He explained the difference. Amphitheater means both sides. Amphi means both sides. So that would be a theater like the Colosseum, where it's continued all the way around. This was a theater that was the stage in the front, and your seating was on one side, in like the Hollywood Bowl type.
There was a theater up on the mountain?
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh.
I took pictures. You saw them. And so that was excellent. We continued through the rear of the stage. We walked right through it, up a hill, and like the skies opened up. There was Temple of Athena. The pillars, and all around was the fallen ruins. Pillars and whatever. You could walk among them. You could touch them. You could walk. Get your pictures with all of them. This is like 4 beautiful. I'm going to say it wrong. And Vulcan explained a lot of the history of periods and what this was. And I would look at this thing, and then in my mind, these are Roman columns. These probably were more like Greek columns. And it was just super. We would ask him questions. He would explain things. He would give his take on things, and he would explain, this is my take on it. But was very candid. Wasn't really afraid to, say how he felt about certain things or what he thought about certain things. And these are what makes it special is the history. is what went before, but in the grand scheme of things, these are still granite pieces. And this was the top of that hill. Talk about how rugged it was for us to get up one that had been up and down people for many years. Think of how they got it there from the only quarry that quarried this marble 8 miles away, and to bring it that far and to go uphill. How did they do it? And he would explain this is how it does. I mean, quite frankly, that area was taken over by different people, the Ottoman Turks and the Greeks, the Romans, several people. And what do they do when they conquer? Well, they enslave people that are there. So you work or you die is the way that goes. So they had lots of help in that regard, but it was brute strength. Either way you look at it, the architecture, the engineering was absolutely amazing.
And then I was very proud of him. He made it all the way to the top and all the way down. And then we got back on the bus and we went to
it was a small little museum. Miletus, yes.
And incredible. It had an outdoor and an indoor part of the museum. And the outdoor, and this is where I was blown away because I didn't get to go up to the top. But once we went to the outside of the museum, there was pieces of columns that you can touch. They were the pediments, the tops of the columns, and you could see the intricate carving. And you have to start thinking, the tools they actually had to create these, it's just mind blowing. And then faces, right, on some of the stonework, actual statues, the rams, and the ornaments on.
Yeah, there's a story there. We'll tell another day. Maybe.
Another day.
But
you can go through these wonderful places. It was all outdoor. You can go. There are little paths that you can travel around, and you could touch the stones. And you have to think about who actually created this and when they created it. And then you went inside, and inside the museum were pottery that they found, and they started putting together. You could see that they were pieced together. There was
a little scene of, I believe it was like a Minoan kitchen. More pieces that they probably didn't leave outside to the elements. They brought them inside. Stacked statues, whether they be Grecian, Roman, or what have you. Just quite amazing pieces.
And then they took us right down the street to another theater. And this was crazy. It was amazing. And I was bound and determined I was getting up those steps. I was going to go walk in that theater on the marble steps. And you did have to climb to go up into them. And then it just kind of opened up. And there you were. And you see this beautiful, that's still standing.
Well, look, folks, you're walking in the steps of the gods if you're of that ancient Greek belief or Roman beliefs. You're walking in the steps of great men that have gone before.
Well, in that particular theater,
yes.
Paul came and spoke to the Ephesians.
That's correct.
And you look around and you look at these beautiful marble, and you realize you're sitting in a place where he could have sat. And it's just mind-boggling to think. It was beautiful. It was really, and it's ruins, and part of it's gone. But you took a lot of pictures of the arches up above, right? You actually walked through a tunnel.
I did, yes. I'm not satisfied with just looking up from the ground. I have to climb. I have to see. I have to experience, full experience. So I climbed higher in this theater, and then I got to the rim, walked through the tunnels between. It'd be like in a modern stadium where you have a lower bowl and an upper bowl, and you have a mezzanine between. It was something like that, only there was a tunnel. It was partially collapsed, and partially it was still there. So you just walk through that, and I go, wow. And just like in a modern, stadium, you turn, there's another stairs that goes to the upper bowl, even higher. So what did I have to do? You bet, I had to climb that. As I'm coming up, I'm looking, it's really steep and there's no railing. And 2 folks are coming back down. They had been up there, but you know what? And the tour was, everybody was leaving, but I was not stopping. So I climbed to the very top. I didn't want to get left, so I took a quick pan photo of it from up there and climbed back down. But it was quite amazing. The architecture, again, I marvel at this engineering.
He did the upper bowl, I did the lower bowl, and I too found a semi-tunnel that we got to walk in a little bit too, and like he said, there's no railings, there's no get through, but it was spectacular. This was not, we didn't have a full tour. We had about 20-25 people on it.
There's quite a few people. I don't know what full was, but
well, the bus would be like 32 is what he said.
The bus wasn't full, but
yeah, he told me, he said it was 25, and normally they have about 30, 35, 32 people.
I mean, maybe people thought they couldn't make it through the whole grueling 7 hours.
It's something. A lot. It was a lot.
But again, well worth it.
Oh yeah.
Those folks that didn't do it missed out, in my opinion. Although it's hard because there was another one competing. Had to decide. There was another one that was.
The glories of Ephesus.
Yeah, would have gone the other way and would have seen some other historic and biblical sites that were amazing. I was disappointed to some degree that I missed them, but I am not disappointed that I was able to stand where I was able to stand, sit where I was able to sit, be among the pieces of history that I was able to be among. That was a very humbling experience.
Then they took us to a Grecian restaurant where it was local fare, local food, lots of, you did like a buffet of fresh vegetables and fruits, and then they served you a whole fish, right? It was like a whole bass?
Yeah, it was
striped bass? Sea bass?
Sea bass.
Yeah.
And it was quite, you could tell it was like they just yanked it out the Aegean, I'm sure, but it was tasty.
It had tail to eyeballs to tail. It had.
Well, we're being authentic. We went to authentic places of the past. We were eating authentic Greek fare from the coast.
And it was delicious, and everybody was so nice there also. And then they served us baklava, real Greek baklava that was delicious. So
delicious sea bass, and she's focusing on baklava.
I didn't have the sea bass.
You're lost. It was good.
Well, hello.
I just tried. It was very good, but.
And then we got back on the bus, and we went to our final site, which was Didyma.
Yeah.
And that was crazy.
Yes. This was the Temple of Apollo. Also a site doubling as the Oracle. The Oracle, I don't know the name, we all know the Oracle of Delphi, but there are several oracles in different areas, and one of the largest happened to be here at this Didyma site. So this area was amazing. There was only, 2.5 pillars still standing, but they were very tall. What did he say? Those like 170-foot tall pillars.
Yes, I think that's what he said.
And this temple was never completed.
And you'll see in the footage that we're going to insert, or that is you're seeing it now, that some of the columns were not completed. You see the raw marble, and then on the other side you'll start seeing where they put the fluted, where they chiseled and everything. This was crazy, because we went from the outside, and then we went into the inner sanctum, where one thing he told us was that a lot of these temples became something else. Like they would become churches, centuries later.
And depending on who took over who.
Yes.
They changed the multi-purpose, just like if you're of one religion and you conquer someone that's another religion, you take their holy sites, tear down their thing, and build right on top of it yours.
So we went inside the temple, which then had become a church, and in order to get there, it was like this ramp. It was completely marbled ramp. It had 2 walls.
Where some of the marble was not finished that you could see, you could touch, and it was almost grainy. This here was smooth, probably from all the people walking up and down it.
So you were holding on to both sides of the wall. I was holding on to both sides of the wall to get down. But then once you came down, it opened up and into this amazing, where you could see the big tall
it was like the
arch.
It was like the courtyard.
Yeah.
And you look around, you can see the arch to the back, you can see the seating on one end. Again, much like a modern stadium. It's amazing how modern architecture took a lot of its cues from some of this ancient engineering.
But you touched history. You were touching it, you were walking on it. And again, our tour guide, just a wealth of information.
So, in the first century, it was something so dangerous actually to talk about your religion if you're Christian. You were under pressure of the imperial cult. So for that reason, what we know, the early Christians were communicate with the codes with each other. They were going to show their existence with this kind of marks. We have many of them on Anatolia, especially with the temples. This kind of special structures contains many of this kind of symbols. Look at that, the other one. Those are game, by the way. Mansala. You know that? It's the same one. And some of them, as you see, the pieces are more. Those are relevant with gambling, and they were using dices.
Just told us about absolutely everything. And then finally, we made our way out of the temple. Well, what is it?
It was a
temple.
It was
Yeah,
a temple.
out of the temple, and then we got ushered right into the bus, and then we made our way back to Kusadasi.
I mean, one interesting thing before we leave the temple here too quickly, this temple was never completed. The main reason it was never completed is this area sits right on a fault. They have many earthquakes, and
That's right.
earthquakes is what did this temple in. Only the 2 pillars and about a half are what's standing. But they made the decision to leave them as they fell, all the columns, so you can see the direction of the earthquake as well, which was something that was quite interesting. And you had different markings along the way where you could see that the people were communicating with each other for one reason or another, right in there. So there's, you can think, what was it actually like 2,000 years ago to be sitting there with your bone chisel and cloth wrapped around your hands, trying to honor God Apollo with this work that you're doing. I mean, it's just it's a pretty weighty thing to think about for me, anyways. So yeah, we went back to the ship. Go ahead and tell the story of going back to the ship.
We are here in Turkey at the time. I don't know when you're viewing this, but when the time of the Middle East is going through some turmoil. So we're in Turkey, which is very close to...
It has a border with Syria.
Right. And
of course, Syrian border is quite a ways away from where we are.
But something was up, because we were stopped not once but twice on the way back at checkpoints. And the police would come on board. Our tour guide would identify himself and show his credentials, because he has to be credentialed in Turkey to be doing tour guides. And he was telling them that it's a bus full of Americans. The first officer was like, just keep going, go. and we went the second time, and this one, I noticed that his demeanor changed a little bit. He raised an eyebrow, and there were two people waiting at the checkpoint. There was one clothed in complete black, and another one who was very heavily armed. The gentleman in black boarded our bus, and this time they walked down the aisle and then entered out the side of our bus. And then we were told to go, and we the gentleman that was sitting behind the tour guide said, "Is that normal?" And he said, "No, it's not." The first time it happened leaving the port, that was expected because that always does happen. But 2 times on the way back, he says, "No, obviously they're looking for someone." So you are kept in a region bubble, but there's only so much they can do.
Well, suffice to say, too, right where we were was very near one of their military bases at the time as well. So, I don't think we went feeling that we were pretty safe about going because we knew that the cruise ship would not put us in jeopardy. And we had a fantastic time. Very lovely people. Unfortunately, at the end, he wanted to take us to a rug making factory, was it, and have a drink. Turkish coffee. He said we deserve that. He said it was going to be his last tour of the season. He was going because it's the end of the tourist season right now. So he offered. It wasn't mandatory. So we pulled up very near the port, and we could go with him, or we could continue on. We chose to continue on because it had been a long day.
Well, as our friends from Britain would say, we were pretty knackered. We needed to go back. But
is that a Britishism?
Yeah, it is a Britishism.
What do you know?
In order to get to the port, you had to go through a maze of Turkish shops. And they kept going, "Go this way, go this way."
This was an entire mall, and it was not a small hometown mall. This was the Mall of America mall you're walking through to get to
and you're
air.
Exhausted, you're tired, you're hungry, you just want to go sit down. There was a lovely lady and her daughter in front of us, and she was not having any of it by the third time. And she was like, "Just get me to the port." But once we got to the ship, to the entrance, we were greeted with very cold towels, which was wonderful because we were hot and sweaty, and greeted warmly. Facial recognition, get back on board, welcome aboard, did you have a good time, and as we were walking to our cabin, I think we ran into, not our steward, but the steward's assistant, and she's like, "Did you have fun?" Like, "Yes, we did. It's just, we need to go sit down." And then we knew we had to get to dinner. We had to take showers and whatnot because we had a big dinner. But if you are on Splendor or any Regent 7 Seas and you're in Kusadasi, and you have a chance to take this Prienne, Miletus, and didyma ancient sites tour, and you are into ancient history, this is the tour for you. It was amazing. I'm so glad we went.
So that is Kusadasi. That is Prienne, Miletus, didyma. Thank you for watching.